In July last year, we brought you an in-depth two-part story which exposed and interrogated the buy a new car from R699 a month deal, which made one man very rich at the expense of nearly 30,000 South Africans, many whom were left in financial dire straits. Tonight we bring you some updates about the car scam. We also show you some exclusive footage never seen before of Satinsky 128 employees airing the company's dirty secrets. Cars with stickers plastered all over their backs, which used to boldly advertise the buy a new car from R699 a month deal, were highly visible all over the country's roads for a few years. But since the catastrophic collapse of the scheme in the middle of last year, the sightings of these cars have all disappeared. But the debt and destruction the scam caused is still very much with those who fell into its grasp. About 29,000 people bought a so-called new car through the deal run by Satinsky 128 and were left financially stranded when the alleged pyramid scheme started to unravel. Last year we met with 68-year-old Brenda Kutsia from Cape Town.
This sounded quite nice, you know, 699 Rand, no deposit, no residual. I couldn't buy the car as I am blacklisted, so my daughter bought it for me. It was delivered. You had to do 2,000 Ks a month, which I did. Then take the pictures of the speedometer, both sides, back and front, on a digital camera with the time and date, which I did. Everything was sent in. I have never received a cent back for the advertising, not 1 cent. I should have got 1,400 Rand a month back.
The scheme was supposed to assist people with the repayments on a new car by paying them for advertising the deal on the back of said car. There were 2 advertising options customers could choose from. With Earn While You Own, you put the branding on your car. You then drive around with the advertising to get a standard 570 Rand a month. If someone SMSs the unique code on the back of your car to the number stated, and if the sale is successful, you will earn a commission of 3,000 Rand per sale. With Earn While You Drive, you again put the branding on your car. The kilometers you drive are proportional to how much you get paid. If you drive over 2,000 kilometers per month, you can make about 1,500 Rand back in advertising fees. Full financing is still done through the banks. While some people were paid their advertising fee by Satinsky 128 in the beginning, it steadily started drying up. The company started cancelling contracts for seemingly insignificant reasons and started showing signs of a typical pyramid scheme.
I can't afford 2,600 Rand a month. I'm a widow. I have a mentally handicapped child. She has Down syndrome. She's lovely. Quite a handful, but I have to put her in arrears because of my age. I have to work. At my age, work is not so easy to find, and it's left me in a terrible position.
We also travelled to East London to meet with Charmaine Hunt, who told us that without the advertising money that the company had promised to pay her, she wouldn't be able to afford the car she bought. When the fee she was supposed to receive dried up, she had to cancel the insurance on the vehicle, and as Murphy's Law would have it, she was then involved in an accident. She was now not only stuck with a car she couldn't afford, but it was also of no use to her. On some weekdays, when she wasn't able to catch a lift with someone, she was forced to take some drastic measures.
I have to sleep here at the office because then I don't have transport. Then come Friday, I have to phone people, begging people for lifts. I've hitchhiked on the highway and got lifts with people. I have to do my prayers that I get there safely as well.
Simon Lapping, a self-appointed consumer activist, has been helping thousands of 699 customers. He's been looking into Charmaine's finances and says that her credit report shows that she has a judgment against her and she was already battling to make her home loan payments every month. He says she should have been deemed a high-risk lender by the banks.
In her case, the loan was given by ABSA, and ABSA actually did a credit check on her ITC, and but the numbers on her application form were altered to show a bond repayment of, well, debt repayment of 3,900 Rand plus 1,000 Rand a month living expenses. Now, if ABSA had done their homework, they would have seen, but this woman has got a bond with us and 3,900 Rand doesn't feature anywhere. And they should have red flagged her account straight away.
The banks were contacted to respond to questions about their involvement with Satinsky 128 and the loans for the 699 cars. All the banks opted to give us a written response. Westbank says it's not involved in any schemes of this kind, and it declined to be a finance partner with Satinsky, recently saying it looked like a Ponzi scheme. Nedbank says it does conduct business with Just Group Africa, part of the Satinsky Group, but only gives car finance to customers who qualify for it under the National Credit Act. Standard Bank says it doesn't take into account any outside agreements which help customers pay off a loan when financing them. It also says they did the proper financial checks. ABSA says it reviewed its dealings with Satinsky late last year and has since terminated its partnering with them. It says all its customers are properly screened. Nedbank, ABSA and Standard Bank have all paid Satinsky commissions for bringing them customers. But despite the banks stating they did the proper checks, it does little to help those who've been given loans they desperately can't afford.
I'm going to be faced with a situation where I'm going to be reliant on people to even help feed me. Things are really, really looking bad. I don't just think it's the drive car salespeople, I think it's ABSA as well. I don't believe that ABSA looked after my interest.
Albert Venter is the founder and owner of the company Satinsky 128, which ran the 699 deal, which allegedly scammed nearly 30,000 people across the country. His scheme targeted lower-income people who couldn't afford a car without his company's promise to pay them some money back for advertising his company's deal on their car. Yet he lives an excessively lavish lifestyle in a trail of financial destruction he's created. Last year, searches conducted on Venter's assets showed that he owned 5 luxury sports cars worth millions. He also lived in a luxury equestrian estate in a house worth over 11 million rand. Back during the time of our investigation, we managed to gain entry to the highly secure estate, but due to high security, we were unable to stop and film at the house. We could only catch a glimpse of the tall trees and walls which obscured the view of the mansion. Many people who bought a car from Venter's company called special assignment, alleging that the new cars they had been sold were in fact not new at all.
If you had a look how many vehicles was on the road and watching their video on their website with 2 persons, one unemployed and the other person an Indian lady, and both of them, the one guy which was unemployed actually stated the most money that which he received cashed in his bank account was 108,000 rand, which works out to close to 40 vehicles which was sold. And that's why we went for the deal.
Hendrik Pretorius is unemployed. This year, March, his father-in-law bought him a car through Satinsky, which came from Renault Fountains in Pretoria. They hoped that it'd make him some money in sales commissions as advertised, but within about 20 days, this dream became a nightmare.
I went to Super Quick in Hendrik Potgieter, and we had a knock against the feet. And when they lifted the vehicle up, we saw that there was an oil leak. The oil was everywhere on the bottom of the vehicle. Then I decided they must just take it down, and I went to Renault and I booked it in to be looked at. And when we booked it into Renault, they actually came back to me and said they did do repair works, they did fix the oil leak, but then they asked me if this was a new vehicle. So I said, yes, we just got it on the 6th of March, and then they gave us a report that stated that the vehicle was in an accident.
Hendrik and his father-in-law wondered how this was possible. They'd been told by Satinsky that it was a brand new car, and they'd been given the paperwork to match. Plus, they were paying a hefty price for the so-called new car, financed by Nedbank's MFC.
That's the worst part. My father-in-law is 75 years old, and he's paying currently for this vehicle 3,309 rand 85 cents. And it's not easy to pay that kind of money because there's not whatsoever kickback at all at this moment. So I don't know how he's going to afford this vehicle.
The shocking revelation about the car was reported to Satinsky, who agreed to take it back and replace it with a new one. Surely this time it was a new car like Hendrik had been promised.
Every time that we need to go pick these vehicles up, on both times it's at night time. You know, traveling there, they don't deliver the cars, you need to go pick it up there. So it is dark, it's late, so you can't see. So I went around the car, so obviously with the experience of the first vehicle, I did book it in just the following day. I took it to Renault to make sure everything was fine on this vehicle. They gave us another report stating that this vehicle needs to be booked in at a panel beater to be repaired. So I just said to them, impossible, it's supposed to be a new vehicle.
Back in July last year, Albert Venter was given an opportunity to respond to the allegations of fraud and corruption against him, but he never got back to us despite our numerous attempts.
You shall send me your business card and you can talk to our media guy. And what you do, send your questions up front and we'll answer what you want to ask us.
All evidence points to the fact that the drive a new car for $699 a month deal was a pyramid scheme. So how does a pyramid scheme operate? The schemer comes up with a way to draw in lots of unsuspecting customers with an enticing offer, often too good to be true. The offer spreads to many others by the existing customers, and the customer base grows considerably. The schemer pays out some customers what's promised so that they'll vouch for the incredible offer and attract more people. Eventually, the scheme is no longer financially sustainable and collapses, as the 699 scheme has recently. The schemer hopes that before it collapses, they'd have made their riches and can get out unscathed. Venter was also allegedly using a front company called Blue Lakes in Hong Kong as a full company to blame the collapse of the scheme on. Back in 2014, it took us time to track down a contact for the company in Hong Kong. Our search led us to a company called Bridges Executive Centre, situated on the 20th floor of the Central Tower in Hong Kong, the same address which Blue Lakes listed as theirs. Bridges Executive Centre told us they were only a service provider to Blue Lakes, who merely rented the use of the address to use as their own. This revelation indicates that Blue Lakes was just a name and never an operational company. Last year, Special Assignment also contacted the National Credit Regulator to question them about the bank's responsibility for working in conjunction with Satinsky 128 to finance the loans for the cars. The credit provider is the one who needs to ensure they grant a loan to someone who can afford it.
It is up to the credit provider then to decide after conducting this affordability assessment to ensure that the consumer can afford to repay the credit. But even then, there is an obligation on the part of the agent not to mislead the consumer.
So what should customers do if they feel they have a valid grievance?
The complaint should be lodged with the NCR. We will investigate the complaint, and if it has merit, we will then talk to the bank, see if they can write off the loan. If they don't, then we will take them to the tribunal. If we feel that, based on the evidence that we have, there is reckless lending.
Exclusive footage taken by Special Assignment around July-August last year, which has never been aired, has captured a number of divulgences made to us by former Satinsky 128 employees, which may give us some insight into why someone like Heinrich Pretorius was given a damaged car instead of a brand new car twice by the company.
If the client is buying a car, we tell the client it's a brand new car. Let's say the kilometers is 9 kilometers, then I disconnect it. I drive it here from here to Cape Town. It's 9 kilometers. When I get to Cape Town, I have to plug it again so it can start reading again. 10, 11 until. If the client is going to see it, say, oh, it's my brand new car. I say, yeah. It's coming with the truck. But I did drive it all.
I hear sometimes people had accidents or something in these cars. Then what would happen while you're driving all the way to Cape Town?
Oh, you have to pay for that car. And the insurance is paying for that car.
They sell it again as a new car.
What's that?
They take that car, they fix it to the pedal beater, then they take it again, sell it again. It's a new car.
The impromptu meeting with the staff in the parking lot of a shopping centre occurred shortly after the airing of the two-part series on the 699 deal. The newly laid-off employees of Satinsky 1 to 8 wanted to reveal the various underhanded activities they say they'd been instructed to perform by the top man Albert Venter and others in top management, like his former brother-in-law Rion Theron. No longer having to worry about protecting their now redundant jobs, the employees said they felt they had nothing to lose by coming clean. Okay. They showed us how speedometers and odometers are disconnected so that the car cannot measure the distance it's driven.
It's look like this.
Okay. So what is that now?
There's a speedometer.
Okay. So that you've now disconnected.
Yeah.
So if we drive the car,
You just drive like this, and then from here to Cape Town. If the car is cancelled from Cape Town, you're supposed to take
Coming
to
back
PE.
with the car.
we drive the car around the parking lot with the disconnected odometer to show that it isn't recording the distance driven. The former employees also demonstrated how they were allegedly instructed to alter the models of some cars in order for vehicles to be sold for a higher price.
Oh, I see PCT. It was an LGI. It was like this before. You see?
Yeah?
Then I supposed to break this one,
Yeah.
and then break that other one, and I put in this one here. To make it the limited edition now.
Just more.
And remember
So the limited edition's more expensive.
this one is, limited.
Yeah.
Just limited. And it was LGI. LGI is cheaper.
Yeah.
And it stays like that. On the Renault, you put in the plus. On the Renault, the ambience, then we put
Renault
plus.
is not there.
On the Renault, wasn't there.
Then we take this one, just the very same, then we paste it at the bottom there.
Yeah.
Then we'll say plus.
During the meeting, the former employees filled out signed affidavits to state what they were made to do by the company. Those who handled customer applications for finance from the banks alleged that they were told by top management at Satinsky to alter bank applications and affordability assessments in order to ensure that the banks would approve the loans. All this information and footage which we took was shared with the National Credit Regulator for their investigation. Over a year and a half later, Simon Lapping is still very much involved in assisting the 699 customers with their fight for justice.
We've had a number of consumers who have chosen different options. Some have chosen the route to fight back. I know of about 20 to 25 cases pending in the courts whereby people are saying, no, you prove it, we've got a legitimate contract. Other people have gone into debt review. There have been a few who have applied for sequestration as such. Some people have just handed the cars back over to the bank. And also, I would say a majority have probably bitten the bullet and they're scraping by and paying the full repayment as such and moving on with their lives.
In some cases, the banks have served summonses on those who've fallen behind with their car repayments.
One of the things that I have noticed, in particular with all these summonses served on these consumers, they haven't been forthcoming regarding all the information in the summons. So in other words, they've conveniently left out the application for finance. Now in my view, that's actually rather misleading because that document's got to be presented in court. And unless the consumer knows exactly what he's looking for, That is the basis of his defense, is that application for finance. And I have to question, why are they leaving out the application for finance in those summonses?
Brenda Kutsia is still struggling to make the exorbitant repayments on her Tata, but got the car refinanced, which has slightly decreased her monthly repayment amounts. Lapping is still assisting Charmaine Hunt with her plight, and while we contacted her directly for a comment, she told us that her matter was before court, and so it was best for her not to comment at this stage.
Charmaine went into debt review because in her situation, as if you recall, she had 2 ABSA bank loans. Well, she had one bond and then the motor car loan, and combined those 2 loan repayments accounted for almost 80% of her monthly income. Now, in my view, that's absolutely reckless lending, just out and out. And the original court in her debt review application, which was the East London Magistrates Court, ruled that her motor car loan was reckless. Now, the last I'd noticed that I've got is that ABSA Bank are now contesting this, and they want to bring the point that Charmaine has created the indebtedness herself, not because of their actions. I tend to disagree with that.
Shortly before this broadcast, we again contacted the National Credit Regulator for an update into the investigations into the possible reckless lending by the banks during the 699 debacle. The regulator told us that it's concluded its investigation and feels like there may be some merit to the reckless lending claims. They've referred the matter to the tribunal for a hearing to be held on an undefined date. Investigations by the regulator into Satinsky's conduct in the saga are still ongoing. Lapping says a recent amendment to the National Credit Act in March this year is a long time coming.
The new amendments will have a huge impact, especially on Section 81, which is regarding affordability assessment, because now we have a situation whereby in the past it was just, you had to assess. Now it gives us specifically clear, well, you have to see how much a person spends on food, how much on cell phone. If you're buying a motor car, you've got to factor in things like insurance, wear and tear, running costs of a motor car. If you've got a family of 5, you can't put down 300 Rand a month for groceries. And before, people were getting away with that. So now there's an actual formula that is designed for it, and they cannot get away with it.
Special Assignment will continue to monitor developments with this story and bring you any significant updates in the future.